we will finish punctual on time because we have other sessions. So welcome everyone. We are going to start this first webinar of our second day. As some of you know, because you've been here yesterday, this session is part of a larger event, a final multiplier event of our European project, which focus on researcher identity development. And as you know, we are particularly interested in early career researcher development. So yesterday we had a set of very interesting and productive sessions. We had 7 sessions in total, so that was a very productive day. And they helped us to reflect upon crucial issues to advance and improve early career researchers. So when I say we are a team of researchers from different countries, 5 countries now, working together for almost 10 years now and doing empirical research and offering resources and training all over the world. So we invite you to visit our website. Some of you already know it, but if not, you can find the address in the chat, and you can also then find the address in the first slide that we are going to just present now. You will find there several resources, publications, the outputs of the projects, that all of them are available on an open regime basis. And mostly we invite you to visit our final output, which is an interactive site for researchers. It's called Researchers Like Me, and it's a social site. So it aims to be a community for early career researchers, to find help, to discuss thematic issues, to share resources. So please, if you visit it, send us feedback, because it's just starting. It's in beta version now, and the community is growing every day. So it's time for us to improve if necessary. So if you send us feedback, we will be more than grateful. We start with a promising session 2 today. As you know, we'll focus on the access to the labor market for doctors. But yeah, an important topic. Then after this session, we'll discuss for researchers to publish and perish. So this culture, which is even it's problematic for all of us, but even more probably for early career researchers. And we'll devote the 2 last sessions today on analyzing the different careers options for postdocs within and also outside the academia. So now for this session, we'll focus mainly in Catalonia. So we will see what happens here in our context. We are from Barcelona, as you know, and we will know from recent data collected by the Agency for the Quality at Catalan University, the ACU agency. And it's a pleasure to have Anna Prades here with us. Hello, Anna, how are you? Okay. So I like to share with you some data regarding the session. So because the webinar format does not allow you to see the rest of participants, and we are almost 100 people registered, more than 100 people registered for this session. And what's amazing is that we are here together. We gathered more than 22 countries spread all over the world. So that includes participants. We are here participants from Africa, Morocco, Nigeria, United States, South America, Mexico, Colombia, Argentina, Ecuador, Asia, India, Japan, and all the European countries too, from the eastern countries to the northern countries. 3 out of 4 of the attendants are pre-docs, and 1 out of 4 is doctoral program developer or coordinator, or maybe a postdoc. So the majority here, they are doctoral students today, this morning. And as I said, it's a pleasure to have Anna here. So Anna, as I said, she's working at the ACU agency, but she's the head of internationalization and knowledge generation department of ACU Catalonia. She has been working there since 2001 now, so she has a large experience there. She coordinates the survey she's going to present today, and I'm sure she will have interesting data for us to reflect on. As you know, for the dynamics of the session, I'll just a couple of minutes to explain that. She will present the topic for the next 20 minutes, and you can raise questions using the questions and answer tool that you have here. Please, send the questions to Anna, to the panelists through this tool, and we'll collect the questions and answer them in the last 15 minutes. If we cannot answer all the questions online, Anna kindly offered to answer them offline. So we will distribute the document among the participants with the remaining answers if the case. You can use the chat for just interact with other participants or to send information on any other purposes. But the questions we will, please send the questions through the through the tool, the answers and questions tool. Okay, I think that's all for now. So Anna, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you very much, Montserrat. Okay, first of all, I would like to thank the organizer for inviting me here. The program of this event is really impressive, so I really feel honored to be able to participate. I'm going to explain to you the results of a PhD survey we carried out just this year. But it's a survey that covers also bachelor's, master's, and PhD degrees, okay? It's a survey that we carry 3 and 4 years after graduation. It's a survey for all the Catalan universities, which are 12 universities, 7 public universities and 5 private universities, plus 39 affiliated institutions. And a first warning, we carried out this survey from January to March, so they are pre-COVID results, okay? And then I'm going into that later, okay? This survey, it's property of all the Catalan university system because it's them that fund this survey. Okay, about the population and sample of the data you are going to see. You are going to see data of almost 2,000 PhD graduate holders, PhD holders that kindly answered our survey, okay? They are more or less half of the population, so the sample is really representative, and data that I'm going to show you, it's very reliable. What it's more, we've been carrying out this PhD survey since 2008, so now it's the 5th edition, so we are quite sure, we do know what happens with PhD holders in Catalonia. We do know that, as you are going to see, this is a spoiler, we do know that they are employed, we do know if they are doing a PhD functions or not, and so on, okay? We have really good knowledge of their labor insertion. On the whole, the database holds information of more than 7,000 of PhD holders, and it's a database that we give to it's open to researchers of Catalan universities in order to do further research. Okay, let's go into the data. Before we go into the PhD survey data, I'm going through the labor force survey data, okay? Just to be clear about what's the value of education, okay? This is, as I told you, data from Spain, not Catalonia, it's the whole Spain, from the National Institute of Statistics, from people aged between 15 and 44 years, which is more or less the age range of our survey. And what you can see here, from left to right, is that the higher the level of education, here you have PhD holders, the higher the activity rate and the higher the employment rate. And this keeps through year after year, and it's true in almost all OECD countries, right? Furthermore, when there is crisis, and here you can see in the red square 2 years when we carried out our PhD survey, 2011 and 2014, what we see here, you can see in the gray line, people who have up to primary education. This is the employment rate, right? And we have in the green line with squares, the employment rate with people with higher education. When there is a period of crisis, in this year we had the financial bubble crisis plus the public debt crisis, which was very hard in Spain. What we see is that the gap between the employment rate by levels of education gets wider, okay? When things are good, when economy is good, okay, there's employment for everyone. So the value added of having a higher degree, it's not so large. But when there is crisis, and we are expecting now a crisis with the post-COVID pandemic, or with the COVID pandemic, we would expect this gap become wider, right? Okay, so and this, from my point of view, really puts pressure in our higher education system, since most of it in Spain is public. So this is a high responsibility, because everyone, including people in gray, is paying for higher education. Okay, I'm going to explain a little bit about the doctor population. This is administrative data. And here you can see with this gray line that I'm pointing at, that from the promotions that we surveyed that were these two promotions, 2014-15 and 2015 the course, and 2015-16, there was a rise of the production of PhD holders. Okay, usually we produce, the Catalan system gives about 2,000 PhD titles. Okay, we can see here in the previous years, but in these 2 years, there was a regulation. There was a change of regulations. There were the former programs that were canceled in 2016. That means that people who were enrolled in these programs had to change and had to finish their PhD in order not to lose the previous years. And why does this matter to you? Because now I'm going to show you a lot of proportions, okay? And you are going to see a rise of proportion and a reduction and a decrease of proportions, but maybe the numbers that are beside, even if there is a decrease, the numbers may be rising, okay? So that's a technical introduction just for the slides that follow up. Okay, let's go just in the data. What does the data tell us, okay, about the PhD survey? Employment rate, do they work? Yes. You can see here in our 5 editions of the PhD survey that 9 out of 10, more than 9 out of 10 PhD graduates are working 3 and 4 years after finishing their PhD degree, okay? This is the highest rate of employment compared with bachelors and masters, okay? And where do they work? And this is a very important question. Do they work at the university? Do they work at a research institute center? Or do they work in a company or a similar organization? It could be, for example, for health sciences and hospital and so on, okay? You can see here that in 2020, the 60% of PhD holders were working in companies, 25% work at university, and 15% work at a company. And you can see that the proportion of people that work at university or research center, at a research center decreased, while the proportion of people that work in a company steadily increased, okay? But as I told you before, just right now, in fact, the real number of people that finish working in a university or at a research center increased slightly, okay? So that means that the surplus of production that happened in these 2 years went to the companies. Okay, they are working, right? But what are they doing? Are they working as researchers? Are they developing doctoral level functions? we ask students to tell us when we do the survey, in relation to your current job, do you think that doctoral studies are necessary? And if not, we ask them, do you think that a university degree is necessary? Well, half of them, 52% of them, tell us, yes, I think that doctoral studies are necessary for my work, for my current work. 44% of them tell us that no, it's not necessary a doctoral degree, but it's necessary to have a university degree. And there is a 4% of people that say, no, we do not need even a university degree. Okay. But as I told you before, it's very, very important where you are going to finish working. Okay. If we look at this distribution, when working at university, a research institute center, or a company, similar organization, data for 2020, we see clearly that those who are working in university, 8 out of 10 are doing doctoral level functions as expected, probably more, we would expect more. Okay, 7 out of 10 are working, of those working in research centers are developing university level, doctoral level functions, okay? But only 3 out of 10 of those who work in companies are doing PhD functions. Of course, this is it's quite different for disciplinary areas. I'm not showing you the data about that, but we have a report that you can consult about this data. But it's quite different for experimental science, engineering. Those few of engineering and experimental sciences that work in companies usually do PhD functions. However, those from social sciences that finish working in companies rarely do PhD functions in their company. Okay, what about the stability of work? You can see here the evolution of our 5 editions by type of contract. The green line is permanent contracts. And it's clear that there was a crisis in 2014. So we began with 60% having permanent contracts in 2008, and this went down and down and down until 2014, and then has been slightly going up, not very much, until 2020, but then bam, COVID happened. Let's see what will happen in the next years, okay? But again, what happens depending on where you are working? In this case, working at the university, it's not an advantage. As you can see here, only 28% of those who work at university have permanent contracts. However, if you work at the research institute, this proportion goes higher, up until 40% of them. And if you work on a company, you do have stability. 7 out of 10 have permanent contract of those who work in companies. So you probably won't carry PhD functions, but you will have stability. What about people who move outside? I'm showing you national data, okay, from Spanish PhD holders. Those of Spanish, how many of them go to international workplaces? Okay, as you can see here, the percentage of people who are working in Spain went down when the crisis. So more people went outside Spain in order to find place. You have to think when the public debt crisis implied that no public administration, no public university, 7 out of 12, could contract people. It wasn't allowed. So people had to look for jobs outside. But as you can see, this percentage has again gone up. Of course, this data is a little bit biased. We found almost all PhD graduates, but those who live outside Spain are much more difficult to contact. So you can expect that this is an overestimation, but not for so much, okay? And what happens comparing those who went abroad and those who stayed in Spain regarding the functions, the suitability of their employment? What we see is that those who went to Europe or the rest of the world, most of them are doing PhD functions. Well, those who remained in Spain, only half of them do PhD functions. Okay, now we are going to change the subject of this survey. This survey has two main areas, two main chapters, okay? One is related to employment and conditions of employment, and the other one is related to skills acquisition, assessing your PhD training, the conditions of your PhD training, and that's what I'm going to tell you in the following minutes. Okay, in this section, we ask them for the extent of skill acquisition in this list of competencies that come from the curriculum vitae project, okay? The ones that are in green are the most traditional skills, those more related to PhD, to doing a PhD thesis, okay? For example, the first one is the ability to work in an independent and self-directed way. The second one, the capacity to generate new knowledge, which is what a thesis should be, right? The publication and dissemination of research findings, strategies for analyzing theories and fundamentals. We can see also design, planning, and carrying out of research, data and output analysis strategies. This one, it's different according to disciplinary areas. For example, for low PhD thesis, this might not be necessary, but of course in experimental sciences and also in most social sciences, it's a necessary skill. Okay, and documentation management, which is a very traditional skill, okay? Then we have the more modern, let's say modern competencies that are also in this curriculum vitae framework, okay? Such as this one would be, I would say it's almost traditional, writing and publication of scientific articles, but then we have understanding the importance and potential impact of research, teaching skills, team working, networking, languages, and successful funding and management resources for research, which maybe it should be part of our PhD training, maybe not. I mean, that's up open to discussion, but it was in this framework that I just cited to you, okay? What we can see here is that there's really room for improvement for these much more modern skills, such as team working and networking, which it's really important when looking for employment, right? Languages, and this one about funding, which is also important when you are working in a postdoc, for example, okay? But an interesting thing that we ask in our survey is, are you doing your research mostly independently on your own, with a supervisor, but you are working on your own and doing your monography and so on? Or are you doing your PhD largely in a research group? Are you involved in a research group? Okay, and if we look at this skill acquisition, you will see that those, this is the ones that are in green, those that did their PhD largely inside a research group, within a research group, there is the level of skill acquisition is higher. Obviously, what is higher is in team working, because they are working in a team, and you can see that here the gap is higher, but also in writing and publication scientific articles, in networking, in publication and dissemination of research findings, and in successful training and management resources for research, for example, okay? In all of the skills, except for teaching skills, which is logical, right? You can see that there is a gain when people do carry out their research inside a research group. So here, the policy implication, it's direct and it's very clear, right? All PhD theses should be done in this way because your skill acquisition is higher, right? And what's happening? How many of them in Spain are doing their research in an independent manner? And how many of them are doing within a research group? Well, if we look at data from 2020, half of them. okay? And it's not going up, okay? As you can see here, this percentage, again, it's proportions, it's a problem, okay? Maybe the number has been maintained, but the proportion has decreased, okay? But in any case, it has not going up, okay? That's also true. Okay, and what about their satisfaction? Are they satisfied with their PhD training? Okay, the item that they are most satisfied with, and I think it's very, very good news, is with the quality of supervision during the time spent working on the thesis with an 8 out of 10. It's on a scale from 0 to 10, okay? Followed by the quality of tutoring during the period of training activities, where there is more room for improvement with the content and quality of training activities and with the relevance of these training activities to their PhD, okay? What else? What is the trend of percentage? Okay, we have a question, which is a key question, that it's, would you do your bachelor again? Would you do your master again? And would you do your PhD again? And yes, 8 out of 10 PhD holders told us that they would do their PhD again. You have to keep in mind that this is a higher percentage for all levels of education. It's 73% in case of bachelor, 71% in case of masters, and 82% in case of PhDs. And I think, and I find this figure quite striking, because if one thing comes to mind thinking about PhD training and writing down your PhD dissertation, it's suffering that if we are going to be positive, you could say that it has been building your resilience, right? You are going to become resilient when you get to your PhD holder. You for sure, it's like a mark that you are a resilient person, right? But maybe it's for cognitive dissonance, I don't know, but keep in mind that only half of them in Spain are doing PhD level functions, but 8 out of 10 say that they would repeat their PhD. So they assess this experience as highly valuable in their lives. And this is good news, I think. What about those who would not repeat the PhD? Why not? Why you wouldn't repeat your PhD? Well, if we look at the reasons for not taking the doctoral program, the first one was dissatisfaction with the job opportunities and the resulting occupation, which is quite normal, okay? Followed by mixed feelings about the design or quality of the study program, which was picked only by the 20% of people, okay? And then there was this one about the failure to adapt to the group, to the requisites of the study program, which was only picked by 17% of those who would not repeat the PhD. Okay, so conclusions, just to go about it, the employment and its quality. Almost all doctors are employed. Companies employ more than half of newly qualified doctors, and companies provide stability. Okay, and regarding the PhD program, just picking the main headlines here, traditional skills are the most broadly attained, and doctors who prepare their thesis as part of a research group experience enhanced achievement of all skills, and 8 out of 10 would repeat the program again. But these are, as I told you, the employment, regarding the employment results, pre-COVID-19 results. Okay, so what we did, because we were worried about this data pre-COVID, okay, we asked, we had to present the results on July, and we presented the results of bachelor's and master's last November. And we asked our National Institute of Statistics of Catalonia, said, please, could you check for these people that we surveyed in this last survey for bachelors? And what I'm going to show you is data from bachelors. What happened? What was the evolution of the affiliation rate, which is not employment rate? It's the affiliation rate of those who were affiliated in Catalonia, not those who were outside. Maybe they were working outside Catalonia in Spain, but outside Catalonia. They do not have data from those, okay? What was the evolution of the affiliation rate from March to October? Okay, so in this way, we could have more data. What we see is that the affiliation rate has not decreased very much. It's only decreased 2%, 2 percentage points. Why is that? Because when you are in a, let's say, COVID leave, okay, you remain affiliated. You have a contract. You receive an employment leave, okay, and an employment pay, but you have a vinculation with your company. So there has not been yet a destruction of employment, okay? And if we have a look at it by disciplinary areas, we can see that the most affected, but not by so much, are humanities and social sciences, and the less affected are experimental and health sciences. Okay, I was asked to provide data about what employers think of PhD holders. We really do not have a survey of employers only about PhD. In fact, it's about bachelor graduates. But in this survey of employers, we do ask them whether in the process of selection, it has been important to have a PhD. And that's why I'm going to show you in just one slide, okay? This employer survey, it's, as I told you, a survey to companies that have recruited individuals who recently graduated. It wants to inform degrees about the usefulness and the employability of their programs, okay? It's an online survey with phone reinforcement, and there has been 2 waves of this survey, and the second one considers 15 different sectors. And it's the sample for each sector is around 100 of observations, and it's not a representative sample of the sector, okay? And this project has the funding, the collaboration of La Caixa Foundation. Okay, last slide here. What is the relevance of holding a PhD in the recruitment of individuals who recently graduated? As you can see, there is a wide range of variety of response here, and it depends largely on the sector. For pharmacy, drugstores, not pharmacy industry, drugstores, okay, it's not relevant at all to have a PhD in order to sell drugs, okay? It's not important at all. But for biosciences, it's quite important. 40% of them say that they need a PhD in order to be recruited. They require a PhD. In some cases, it's yes, in some cases, okay? The rest of the bar would be no, we do not require a PhD. And the ones that follow biosciences are in ICT and public administration and local entities, with only a 20%. As you can see, the percentage in the rest of the sector is quite low. Okay, so that's all. You can have access to the reports in this website. Okay, we have 3 reports: 1 for bachelors, 1 for masters, and 1 for PhDs. They are already been translated in English. I think that still they are not available in the website, but you can write me down and I can send you the PDF because it's already translated. And the data it's available in this website. And as I told you, the database are available for Catalan researchers. And that's it. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Anna, for this interesting study. It is interesting. So many layers here we can discuss. Yeah, and someone also in the questions and answers says, well, Inge says, great study. We have several questions. Let's well, the first one, you said something about that, but since this was a question that appeared just at the beginning, I think it's interesting just to say something about that, because I've read the report and you have some data about that. So Mauricio asks whether do we know if the social areas still work in industries or in companies?
Yes, as I told you before, all 5 disciplinary areas we consider: humanities, social sciences, experimental health sciences, and engineering. All 5 of them have a percentage working in companies. This percentage is higher in social sciences, okay? But it's also higher in health sciences, because you have to think that in medicine, there's an interesting factor there, that having a PhD benefits your professional career, and having your research accredited also benefits. It's an it's a professional incentive for your professional career. So lots of people graduated from medicine get their PhD. Okay, so the percentage is also high in health sciences.
Okay, okay. There is also a question about gender. There is gender differences in doctoral career development in the study.
Yes, I don't have the clear figures in my head. I have to tell you that 3 years after graduation, we do not find so many differences by gender. Okay, we have a study 10 years after graduation, and this change. And now in this year, we have done a study 20 years after graduation, and we expect to find much more differences. Okay, but when you just finish a degree, both men and women go to find employment and go to find a good employment. So there are not so many differences. There's a section in the report about gender differences where you can check this with more detail, okay? But at 3 years after graduation, we usually do not find very large differences.
Yeah, just if I remember correctly, maybe because there is no differences in the type of job, because we had this nice session yesterday talking about, the position of women may be different. So they work equally as men, but the position they reach, it's a little bit maybe different, or the presence in fora, in academic fora, or even in companies. So at the highest levels, may be different too.
Yeah, what we saw in the gender study 10 years after graduation, we saw that men spend more hours working than women per week. So it's expected that then this is going to have a credit regarding their promotion. Okay, so yeah, we are going to find difference, and we all know she figures, right? The report she figures. It's evident that in academy, men raise higher than women, and that's for sure.
A tricky situation. There's another question. How do you know which organizations recruited PhD holders?
We do not know. It's this database, as I told you, it's not representative of the sector, mainly because how do we collect these companies? How do we contact them? Because we ask universities to provide us with their database, the one that they use in order to the database of the career services, the university career services. So it's clearly a database that is biased toward companies that recruit higher education graduates, okay? And that's the first point. Okay, and then what we ask to them is, okay, have you recruited someone in the last 3 years? And if so, tell me something about their training, okay? And in one of these questions, as I just told you, it's, did you take into account when hiring this person, it's having a specific degree, or having a master's, or having a PhD? And that's just a question that I explained to you, that I showed you.
Yeah. There's also an issue about public administration. So if you know if it's the number of PhD holders in public positions growing lately, or does it remain the same?
Well, I would say, yeah, we have a question of the service sector, okay, and you can see the percentage of people that are in public administration, but you could say that works that are working in university, most of them are in public administration, okay? And as have shown you, what has increased is the percentage of people that are working in companies. So that means that it's not been increasing, at least in Spain, so much, okay?
Yeah. What about unsuccessful postdoc, those that do not enter into the job market after graduation? Do you know something about them?
Not much, to be honest. I mean, 90% of them, 95% of them are employed. That means 5% of them are unemployed. But you have to think that there is people who get their PhD when they are quite old, they're just over the retirement. So this percentage can be lower because there's people that is retired. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So there are not so many of them. Another thing is this 4% of people employed that do not do even university level functions. Okay, that's another thing, but it's a 4%.
Yeah, probably someone worried about.
Yeah, being this 4%.
Yeah, there's also another question, so lots of questions. Humanities and social sciences often have a harder time finding work. Do you think there should be less PhD programs in these areas?
I wouldn't say so. I think what data tells us is that having a higher degree, it's value added for the people who has it. Okay, I wouldn't say so. Another thing is the employment rate is not very different by disciplinary area. Okay. Another thing is that if you say, okay, all of them should be 100% of them should do PhD functions because this is a public funding system, and then if you had this kind of mentality, yes, you could think, yes, we are overqualifying people. Okay. And it is we should reduce if looking from this mentality, yes, but from a human resources perspective, I would say that overqualification, it's never an overqualification. And as working myself in a company, I think that sometimes it's not so much overqualification. I think that it's good for the society having PhD holders spread everywhere. I think that they are really competent people. But well, it depends on your ideology and how do you fund your education system.
Maybe an issue could be that we should enhance, as we said yesterday, the options for humanities and social sciences work outside academia. So maybe this is something that we as a society need to enhance. So how we imagine or how we are able to create new positions outside academia for social sciences PhD holders, because if we enhance cross-sectional research, and we really develop intersectional, interdisciplinary research, maybe we start to think that companies can also employ social sciences researchers working in interdisciplinary projects too. So that's probably a change of culture. That's more than reducing PhD programs.
Yeah, for instance, thinking on education, for example, wouldn't you like to have more PhD holders in education? I would like to have them. I think that innovation in pedagogy would be much more easier if teachers, primary and secondary teachers, had this kind of training. But this is not recognized within our public education system. And I think it's a really good added value in this case. Yeah.
Changing cultures is something important. Yeah. There's also a question about, do you know what do respondents mean by doctoral function in their job? Because we asked, that was something I asked myself too. So
yeah. Not really. I mean, I just read textually this question because it's always a question when I present this data, and it's not. It's what people think about. If you put yourself, what would you say if I ask you, does your current job, do you think that doctoral studies are necessary? And whatever you think, it's whatever they think. It's really a self-assessed question.
Because there are so many things underlying research work or doctoral function. So we started to collect data mainly in UK, and it's amazing what people understand. It's research work can be almost everything. There's also another question saying, did you also ask it about job satisfaction? So if yes, there are differences between satisfaction and sectors in which PhD holders are employed?
Yes, definitely. Yes, these slides, I have them hidden, but they are in the presentation. So, yeah, maybe I can show you to you. Do we have time, Montserrat, to show this slide?
A couple of minutes, and that's all.
Hide the slide.
But we have almost answered all the questions. There is just
And
another
salaries
question.
again. Yes, there was also a slide about salaries that I
Exactly.
yeah that I also hide in order to. But then I'm going to show you. Okay, so I'm going to show you the two hidden slides that I access to labor market. Okay, here. Okay, salaries. Let's begin. Oh, yeah, sorry. Let's look for salaries and jobs. Mira, here we have job satisfaction. Okay. And as you can see here, you have satisfaction, the total, and for the 5 disciplinary areas, the satisfaction with the job content is the higher assessed aspect, while the potential for promotion and enhancement and the link between PhD education and work, it's the lowest aspect of satisfaction assessed, okay, for all disciplinary areas, okay. Okay, those working at university, 8, at a research center, 7.8, at a company, 7.9. So it does not make a difference whether you are working in the general job satisfaction. But if you assess the link between PhD education and work, of course, you are more satisfied if you work at university at a research center, sorry, than if you work at a company, okay? So it depends on the component of the satisfaction, okay? And regarding salaries, last slide, as you can see here, people who earn less are those of humanities. 8 out of 10 are earning more than 2,000 euros per month, okay? So this is quite good news. And the rest of the areas, it's more or less the same, as you can see here. Okay.
Okay, regarding job satisfaction, that's probably a connection between the stigma that Matthew was talking yesterday, the stigma of working outside the academia. So this feeling of not doing what you were preparing for, something like that.
You are not paid to do papers, for example. That's true. In the
Yeah,
company, they do
like
not pay for that. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much. That was very interesting. So many questions, and someone asked in the chat for the report, and Anna put the link to the total the global report, which is in the ACU Publications website. Was it translated into English? Because when I looked at it, I thought that the last one was not translated.
No,
not yet.
But I have it in PDF, and I could send it to you in order to share with the participants.
Great.
Yeah.
Because usually they are also translated into English
it is
on the website.
And I have it just from yesterday. As a colleague sent it to me, but I have the PDF, and it's not in the website yet.
Great. Thank you very much. That was so interesting. So many people is saying thank you, as you can see. Okay. So great. I'm going to see Alexander, who is the panelist for the next session. I've been told that he's already in the room waiting for us. So you are all of us invited to the next session. So Anna put the link here, as you can see. I'm sure it's going to be also interesting. So thank you very much, Anna.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks.